Welcome everybody to the King Ugly Crew channel. We are meeting here tonight. We've got Baron and Griffith with us this time. They were not on last time. We also have Case Isaiah and Lonnon and myself, Dane Jensen. We're going to be having a fun night tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the Gambler 500, but before we get into that, I'm going to have Griffith and Baron introduce themselves. So, Griffith, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone. I am Griffith. I don't know what number of child I am. I've got 4 kids, ranging from 11 to 9 months old now. And I guess we could go off of what I've done. I've been in parts pretty much all my life, so I'm kind of those guys that I've been doing parts. Worked at AutoZone, O'Reilly's, and then worked into the Subaru world for many years, and now I'm here at PDD as the sales manager and having fun here, making 1,000 horsepower trucks, or at least trying to. I think that's pretty much it. I don't have much more to add to that.
Well, tell us about your cars, Griffey, if you can list them.
Yeah, how many kids do you have?
Like 17, I think, is what we had come up with, me and Baron.
17 cars, not kids.
Yeah, cars.
If you have 17 kids, how many wives?
No, just one wife. I could only handle one in my life anyways.
What's your favorite to drive?
I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite car. It's probably the reason why I own so many. My Golf was one of my favorites, and then I decided to stop driving it, which hopefully soon that will be stopping because I'm tired of dealing with my Jetta that I've been trying to make fast, like my Golf was.
And that Golf was fast. I mean, totally surprising fast. Griffith, anything else you want to tell us?
No, I think that pretty much covers up everything. I mean, I guess I have very similar life to what Barrett and Case have. Moved to Vegas about the same time. Kind of grew my hate of my Vegas as well. And I moved up to Cedar. I actually moved to Prescott, Arizona, trying to get away from Las Vegas. Taking a parts and service director job at a Subaru up there, and just decided that it was not for me, and came to work here. And I'm actually really happy to be living in Enoch, unlike Case.
Give me a break. We're like a half an hour away.
Much better for me. I've been very much happier with living here. I'm having all my family here, and kind of been the guy that always likes to have the family around.
Awesome. I think that goes for all of us. That's something I think mom and dad instilled in all of us, is just, having family, and family's important. So awesome, Fuff. I call Griffith Fuff. So if I say Fuff, I'm talking about Griffith. Aminal, Baron, tell us about you. And I will really try not to use nicknames, but I don't call anybody in our family by their real name. So, Baron, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Alrighty, my name is Baron, like the Red Baron, so I got to introduce myself to most everybody. I have a red beard, and my favorite color is red, so it all kind of goes along. I have my wife, Brianna. I have 2 kids, Tinley and Axton. They're both under the age of 2. Axton I just had about 6 months ago, so he's a COVID kid. And same story as Griffin Case. Moved to Vegas, same time. I mean, the only exception for me was I went served a mission in Northern California for 2 years, then went back there and lived there for 6 months, and then decided that I was kind of done with the California life and moved back. What I've done in my life, I've pretty much been a mechanic my entire life. I started out as a diesel mechanic, then moved to heavy equipment, then moved to lighter heavy equipment. That was a union job. It was super easy. Then decided to throw away $38 an hour to come to power-driven diesel. And then from power-driven diesel, we split ways, and now I am back to heavy equipment. And as Case mentioned last week, I am just starting engineering school for mechanical engineering. Decided, you know what, there's a lot of morons out there that, I guess that's unfair. They're not morons. They just don't have any mechanical experience. And so they really just don't have a clue what the mechanic has to deal with on the back end of what they're dealing with. The things that I really like my interests, I I am a 6.0 Power Stroke guy. I've owned several. I handle a fleet of 6.0s for people. Between me and Griff, we've done a lot of work on them. We've gotten down to pulling a cab on a 6.0 or on any Super Duty for that matter in about an hour and 20 minutes. We actually just did one last night.
Kings.
Well, to give an example, I mean, we just started with, we pulled a cab off of a 7.3 last night. We pulled it off at 5 p.m. We had it back on after we did injector cups and back on and running at 11:30 at night. So,
Gosh, it's so fast.
And that wasn't because it wasn't ready to run by 10. My batteries were dead, and so we were waiting for the charger to charge them.
So we've gotten really fast at working on our Super Duties. My education, I'm a Scania Master Tech. Scania is a Swedish manufacturer of engines and trucks over there. The reason I am that is because of my heavy equipment experience to come with Scania engines. And then my cars. So cars are autos, I guess, because I'm going to throw in some side-by-sides in here. So the truck I probably owned the longest, I have a 2005 King Ranch. I paid $5,000 for 7 years ago. Bought it with 140,000. It currently has 240,000 on it. And you can ask any one of my siblings what is probably the most reliable truck in our fleet, and it's my 2005 6.0.
Absolutely.
Come on, Duramax.
Whose truck broke 3 weeks ago?
I think
It
it was
didn't
the
break.
Duramax.
It was the EGR crap.
Still
Did
broke.
it break?
Yeah, the only problem I've ever had with Baron's his King Ranch are the seats, first of all, which he knows, and the AC went out when we were moving last summer. But besides
It was
that,
hot.
it was beautiful. That thing is it's been a great truck, Baron.
So
It is a great truck, Barry, and it looks great too.
I mean, I probably hold the record for the longest I've traveled in any rescue. I actually had to drive my wife's truck, which was a 2004 F350 that was lifted on 35, 6-inch lift, really gaudy truck. I hated that thing. We drove that. We put my truck on a trailer behind it, drove to Houston, and picked up old business partner, and then came back with his race truck and his daily, which were both, by the way, 12-valve Cummins. So I guess my 6.0's got to rescue the old faithfuls of the world.
Whoa. Calm down there.
Hey, I have to throw out the love for the 6.0 somewhere.
The funny thing about that whole thing is it was one push rod that he could have just stolen out of one of the other ones and drove his own crap back.
Yeah, but now I get to rub it in that a 6.0 got to rescue his 12-valve.
I get it.
Hey, I've got a Fummins waiting to go and have some fun with. And Bear, you know it'll be good.
All of the 12 valves I've driven, I've driven several. I think the most high horsepower 12 valve I've driven was about 850 horsepower. That was Mike Hudson's truck. And they are a riot, don't get me wrong. But man, if they could just get a transmission to shift like a 5R110 does, they are exceptional. And that's where Griff's Fummins is going to be a ton of fun. So I guess we'll finish off. I guess we'll finish cars really quick. I've got an 06 Jetta TDI, GL350 Mercedes, 1971 Mercedes 250C. That's the car that I'll probably hold on to forever. I've done a lot of work to that one. I did a full drivetrain conversion, but it's nothing to talk about. I mean,
0 to 60, 31 seconds?
30.5 was the road and track numbers for it.
You mean the car you
super
multiple
fast
time trying to sell?
I don't know. I only have it listed because if I can get $5,000 off of it, then I'll get $5,000 off of it.
Sounds like you're trying to sell it.
Yeah, whatever.
Sounds like my YXZ. I have it listed to appease my wife. Hopefully she doesn't listen to this.
Then I've got my 24-valve Cummins that I just bought to sell. I traded that for a side-by-side, and the guy gave me some cash on top of it. And then everyone's going to make fun of me for this. I've got my Arctic Cat Wildcat 1000X. It's a 2013 and a half model.
What's the VIN?
I have no idea. It's green. It's the bright green color. They do ask for that when you're trying to buy parts. So, and then I've got an 83 Suzuki GS 1100E Katana, and then just a couple of dirt bikes.
Cool. All right. So Thanks, Baron. Thanks, Griffith. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about the Gambler 500. Case Isaiah, can you just kind of fill everybody in on what the Gambler 500 is and how you heard about it? You know, just kind of a synopsis on how you guys got involved.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm a huge fan of the YouTube channel called B is for Build, and he had done a few Gambler 500 runs. And so basically, the premise of the entire thing is that you find a car that you spend less than $500 on, and parts it everything else less than $500, and take it on this journey that is roughly 250 to 500 miles. And it's over dirt road, over rocks, basically whatever terrain they can find. The absolute worst way to get to point A to point B, they'll put you down that road. And basically, just see, it's called a gambler for region because it's a gamble if you can get to the end. And that's basically it.
It's not really about racing. It's also about, like, they're all about making sure that you're driving down the road and you see some trash, you pick it up. They're trying to make our actually forests and where they do these things cleaner.
Absolutely, and it's a blast to have. I mean, be out there with a whole bunch of group of people that are driving around in these clunkers is probably the best term for them, and just we're doing good things, but at the same time, just having a bunch of fun.
Awesome. So how did you guys get involved in it?
So I ended up texting basically everyone, all of my brothers on the west side of the country. I was like, hey, we're gonna go do this Gambler 500. It's in a few months. And I had to basically explain exactly what it was to everybody and got everyone on board. So we just started looking, man. We went through KSL, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist down in Vegas for you, Dane. We just went through everything, trying to find this cheap cars that would fit our family and be able to get through the trail. And that's how we ended up finding Lonnon's. Go ahead, Lonnon, talk about that.
Well, do we want to discuss what we were going to decide we were going to do first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to use, I've got a 1969 FJ40 that hasn't ran in literally 20 years. And I was like, you know what? Instead of dumping $500 into a car, why don't I just dump $500 into this, get it running, and we'll take it up there. Well, long story short, it needed head gaskets and a bunch of other things. And really the worst problem was it needed a title. I still don't have the title on it. Still working on that issue.
This is a year later. We're still waiting for the title.
Yeah. And I've been, it's ridiculous. So we decided not to go with that. And so then I started looking for a car. Yeah, actually, I mean, well, not me. It would have been really fun in my cruiser. I have to say, it would have been enjoyable. But
everything got beat up.
I don't think my cruiser would have got beat up for where we were at. I mean, like, it has a small enough wheelbase and it would have been tall enough that it would have been fine by itself. And there was a couple other cruisers out there.
Not only that, though, it would have been part of the adventure, because that was honestly probably what the lack of fun was. What you chose made it so it was almost a little unfun. It never broke.
What they're getting at is that I was looking on Facebook and I was like, I got to get a vehicle for the Gambler. So I'm just looking, and all of a sudden this 06 Isuzu Ascender 7-seater pops up on Facebook or KSL, one of the two, for $300. And I'm like, shoot, $300, even if it doesn't run, I'm sure I can get it going. So I call up Griff and I was like, hey, you want to come down with me to go check out this car for $300? And he's like, yeah, sure. I'm not doing anything else today. So we jump in the vehicle. We head down to St. George and we start it. And this thing is just running terribly. And me and Griff are both like, it doesn't sound like, anything major's wrong with it. So we're like, you know what? Let's just drive it to the local AutoZone and we'll just see if we can figure out what's wrong with it there. So after almost killing us probably twice, Griff?
Yeah.
The vehicle just literally can't get out of its own way. We get to AutoZone. We start moving some of the coil packs around. We find out they're all coil packs, which is pretty common on those vehicles to go out. So I go in and I'm like, how much is a set of coils? And they're like, oh, it's $300 for the 6. I'll go to Amazon. So I found some Chinese for all 6. I think it was $65 or something like that. It needed some tires. They were pretty shot. Griff had some sitting to the side that he'd bought from a coworker. I bought those from him. So all in all, I think I'm into it about $560, $570 at this point. Oh, it needed a fan clutch as well. I think that cost me $70 as well. So I am over $500, but just barely. And that's what we picked to take up there. I drove it all the way there. We'll go on from there. I think probably Baron or Case on the other car we decided to take.
Case, why don't you go ahead and talk about the other car you took and then who rode with you? So, Lonnon, tell us who rode with you in the Ascender. I don't know if you guys switched it up or what happened with that.
All right, so I was driving up by myself. Nobody else was with me. Shoot, I think we got there at it was 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock at night. It was fairly late if I remember correctly. And Baron had his trailer. Well, actually, Case towed Baron's trailer from, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because Baron actually had to meet us there with a non-service vehicle.
Well, we can't tell what company it was from, but yes, we had Baron's work truck.
Yeah. I totally had my service truck. I got a boom truck with a welder and everything on it. So I had to do a job out in Richfield, which was about 2 hours away from where we were meeting up.
It did have King Ugly placards, though.
Yeah, I had Lonnon's wife make me some vinyls that we threw on some magnets, and I covered up my door stickers that's for my company I work for.
It was a very wise decision to have that truck there. Yes, it was great.
You'll find out later. So, Case, go ahead and tell us how that drive went for you. I'm pretty sure it was pretty uneventful for Griffith. He was just driving his, I think it was just your Ioniq, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, just hit the adaptive cruise and let her rip.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Hate adaptive cruise.
Love adaptive
it's
cruise.
Freaking fantastic. You just got to get used to it, and then it's the best thing in the world. All right, so Case, tell us a little bit about that.
All right, so I ended up, instead of we decided or tried to go with a Mercedes. It didn't work out that we had. So I was like, screw this. We're just going to take my Subaru Outback. And then I spent all day Friday getting it ready and found it would not fit in the trailer I was supposed to put it in. So I was like, oh, dang it.
Case was trying to take my toy hauler. So he somehow got his WRX to fit in the toy hauler, which kind of amazed me, wedged between my stove and the fender well, but it fit by some miracle.
Oh, I guided it in perfectly, like a glove.
Everyone knows that has ever owned an 02 to 0 WRX knows that the front fenders are tin cans. So if you even touch them, they dent, or look at them wrong, they dent. So mine weren't straight by any means by the time we got there. But hey, we got the WRX in the car. We were like, okay, so this is the car that I've lifted 4 inches, put bigger wheels and tires on, and it was crazy getting that thing in there. Baron's trailer. We were towing it with his King Ranch, was an awesome truck, but this trailer is I don't know why, but it is one of the worst trailers I ever tow with ever.
It is freaking terrifying. Before I put airbags on it, the thing would just sway and wander all over the road. It was not a delightful trailer, but that has recently been remedied.
The tail wagged that dog so bad. Because I drove it back.
I found out that I had a tire separating on the trailer, which that also wasn't helping the issue. But the biggest part was I think I was just overloading my truck.
Yeah, and you definitely feel that doing 70 miles an hour down the road. I hardly pushed it to 70 just because it got so squirrely. And me and Jason had a really fun, interesting trip. Every time someone passed us, we were in the in the rumble strips and everything else. That was a fun little trip. So we finally get into Payson, Utah, and we stop at the Walmart, and we find out that Lonnon is a half an hour behind us because we were going so slow. And we were like, yeah, we'll just sit down and wait for him. And then Baron, I think Griff and Lonnon were basically right behind each other, weren't you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I know we grabbed food, and that took a nightmare too, trying to figure out where to get food that late. Fuel, food.
Oh, and then certain places wouldn't take certain cards. Then I had to go somewhere else. It was ridiculous. Oh, it was Smith's. It was Smith's.
Yep, because Smith's just changed their policy for no visas, which is dumb. But basically, it took us an hour just to get fuel and food. And then the drive up the mountain took another 45 minutes. So we didn't get up there until close to midnight, I'd say. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Late. Very, very late is all I remember. And it was cold, not particularly warm.
It was freezing. Like, legitimately, it was below 30 degrees by the time we got there. I know that for a fact. Luckily, I had saved our camp spot with my Mercedes that I had at the moment. I just parked it earlier that week because I was living up in the Salt Lake area at that time. And yeah.
So this was Friday night, right?
Yes, sir. Friday night. And it was beyond cold in that trailer. I mean, we were trying to snuggle as best we could, and everyone was dying by the time we got up in the morning. Like, what was wrong, and the Baron just, hey, we could have turned my heater on. Thanks, Baron.
No. So I didn't know the heater worked. The trailer was still new to me at that time. So we still didn't use the heater that whole weekend, but it was freaking cold. My goodness. Woke up and it was just like, oh, it's bad.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, nobody but me brought a jacket or a coat.
No, we had coats, but they're hoodies. We had hoodies, so light jackets, nothing like a winter coat. So I stole Lonnon's because he brought an extra one, and then we just bundled up in our sleeping bags in the car.
But I don't know what you're talking about. I have my own personal winter coat. Wear it all the time.
Yep, until he shaves it off.
So let's move to Saturday morning. Griffith, tell us about Saturday morning.
So we woke up. It was cold, but it was actually kind of interesting because we woke up, got out of the car, ready to go, and got to see all of the gamblers. There was a freaking awesome lifted Mustang out there, like Grand Prix, stuff like that. And so
Couple limos.
Yeah.
Don't forget about the limo. Limo was awesome.
Well, I'm talking about before we even left camp. That was what was there. And then we headed over to the meeting point, set up there was what, 50 cars, guys? Would you say that?
I'd say pretty close.
Yeah, right about there.
And so we go get into line and get ready to go to the Gambler, and we start our trek. And our very first trek on where we were headed to, after looking at all these cool cars, I guess I don't know if we want to talk about cars or not, if we want to talk about the journey.
So real quick, let's say, Baron, what was your favorite car out there?
The limo. That was sweet, the places that thing went.
And Case?
Well, mine, of course, but there was a Cherokee that was done in the Jurassic Park theme, with had the Jurassic Park thing on the side of it. It was awesome. The one that actually took my breath away though was like an older Dodge Neon that they literally cut the back seat roof, everything for the back seat back, and made it a roll bar in the back behind it. It was awesome. I will post all these pictures that I have on our Instagram, and that is at King Ugly Crew. That's on Instagram and Facebook.
So Griffith, what was your favorite one out there?
I would say probably the Mustang. I thought the Mustang was awesome. I mean, this thing was on 33-inch tires, so it was pretty awesome.
Cool. And Lonnon, how about yours?
I don't know if I have a favorite one, but the one that is most memorable to me was that like 1976 Monte Carlo that wouldn't get out of its own way. Like the thing was just a gutless wonder, but they had it on bigger tires and everything else. That one was probably the most memorable one to me.
So you guys were there with Jason. What do you guys think his favorite was, or which one stood out the most to him? Something with a turbo, I'm sure.
I don't know. Was there a Saab?
There was a Saab, and he fell in love with it.
Yeah, or it was that Subaru Justy that somebody had turboed or something like that.
Literally just slapped a turbo on it. This thing was so ridiculous.
Yeah, so I don't know. It could be either one of those things, in my opinion.
Alrighty. So you guys got going on the actual 500 that morning. Tell us about the actual road, Baron.
So we start on the journey. They just have us go up this really awesome mountain road. It's paved until they have us go to this turnoff where it gets down this dirt road that then has you start going down the mountain. And I mean, it's nothing too extreme. This limo went everywhere that it was supposed to go. So, I mean, it wasn't that extreme. It would have been a lot more fun if we could have gotten some speed on this road, but it was so bumper to bumper traffic that we couldn't get there. Well, then we're going down. We get to mostly the bottom of this canyon road, and it's a dead end. I guess the road had been washed out like a couple days before. They'd been dealing with some really epic rains. And so nobody knew it was a dead end. So all of these cars have to turn around and go back up the hill.
Yeah, and this is like a mile and a half, maybe 2 miles down. And Baron was riding with me at the time. I think Griff was in the back of mine as well.
And so me and Jason were just cruising along. We were ahead of Grip, ahead of the other car. And so we made it down to the bottom first, and then started making our way back up after we turned around. And there was a pile jam on both sides. Ended up finding out that there's a car that was taking the corners too fast, ended up sliding over the edge of this cliff. I mean, it was a good, I would say 20% incline on the other side. It was nuts. I don't know how he didn't go completely off.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then they just, I think it was two cars with different winches, kind of just like winched him back up onto the road. It was pretty awesome. Baron was about to go grab his freaking work truck and just, boom truck him back on, but they didn't need it. Like, these guys knew what they were doing.
How far off the road were they?
He was probably down the hill a good 20 feet, I would say, guys. You think?
I have a short video of it that I'll try to get online as well. But there's 3 points of contact there's a front and the back on the winches, and then they got a whole line of people actually pulling from the side of the vehicle to pull it back up on the road.
Wow. So tell us a little bit more about it, about the road and the dead end. What happened after the dead end?
So after the dead end, everybody got turned around. We went all up to the main road. And so this canyon road was supposed to take us down into, where were we at? Payson. So we went into Payson, went through Payson to the other side to a different mountain range. And that's kind of where we went on this kind of dirt road. I mean, it was just kind of anything you could still take a two-wheel drive car on, but it led us to this tunnel. And so it was this old train tunnel. And so we go through it, and of course, Case's car sounds awesome. So we're having fun driving back and forth through this tunnel. Well, then I have the bright idea there's this little like awesome incline jump right at the end of this tunnel. So I'm like, Case, go take a video of this. So I jump his car first, and he decides, well, this is my car, so I'm going to get some more air than him. So I'll Case go from there.
Yeah, so I got, a little angsty seeing my car getting jumped. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm doing it way better. I might have to jump this thing, I don't know, 3-4 feet in the air. I mean, I don't have anything special done. It's just stock Forester struts. And man, we came down so hard on my driver or passenger side tire. And just driving out of there, you could tell that thing was bent. It was so gnarly.
Yeah, like bad enough that we couldn't even drive. Like, we had to connect it to the Isuzu. So like I'm like perpendicular to Case, his front tire. We attach a strap to it, and we just give it all it's got and whack that thing. It took us probably 4 times of pulling on that sucker to get it quasi straight.
And it wasn't even straight. It was enough for us to get back out on the main road. And then we ended up pulling the tire off because I got stuck. I parked my car on top of a rock and ended up taking my wheel off and readjusting my bolts in there and trying to get it bent back out. But it was never straight the rest of that morning. And this all happened within the first 2 hours of the entire weekend.
And Lonnon, in that time frame, you got stuck too, didn't you?
It was after that, but not much. I mean, probably half an hour. Like, we've got a lot of people that were like going through, and there were some spots that we decided we didn't want to go up because there were some people going up it and some people coming down it. And I would talk about traffic jam. It was terrible. So we decided to go to the next point. We're like, you know what? We won't hit this GPS point. We'll go to the next one. So we start going up, and we find this like probably some sort of mine at one point. But there's kind of the small plateau, and other people are going up and over it. And so I decided to go ahead and do it. And bam, high centered right on the top. So a car comes up, and they're like, actually, Case was about to come back and try and pull me off. And this car's like, no, I got it. It's a little Grand Am. And so they take a tow hook and they attach it to a spot on my subframe to the back of this Grand Am, and they, back up as far as they can, and then they get a good running start out of it. Well, the car didn't move, but the ratchet or the strap literally broke out of the subframe, and the hook went right through their back window. I mean, if it had been more to the left or more to the right, it probably would have killed somebody. It was going that bad.
That's crazy. So how'd you end up getting unstuck?
Was it the same? I think it was the same car.
It was a Jeep came up.
Oh,
and
it was
pulled
a
us off.
JKU. Yeah, it was somebody with a new JKU, and they were kind of just following people to help out. And so, yeah, that's right, Baron. So they came up. We hooked it to a completely different spot that we knew was a lot more sturdy.
Robust.
Yeah, let's go with robust.
Well, we towed off backwards is what we did. Where before they were trying to pull it forward where he got stuck, we yanked him off the hill backwards.
Which was the better idea because I was not completely high centered. It was the front of my car that was on some sort of ground. And so they just had to get my front wheels back up and on, and then I was able to back off without an issue. Yeah, I mean, so then we continued on.
Did you make it up the hill?
Oh yeah, I made it up that hill. It just, I didn't make it off that one side.
So that wasn't an obstacle. We just parked there for pictures, and Lonnie got stuck.
Yeah, it was just me messing around. Like, it was funny because I went up a couple of the other sides afterwards and I didn't have an issue. It was just that one that, like, it dropped off super fast and then it kind of tapered out.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about hitting the pick apart.
Well, before we do that, let's go back to so we're following this past these GPS points, and we get to this place. It's called Little Moab, and it's pretty rocky. Actually, it's extremely rocky.
It is Little Moab, like legitimately.
That's the name of it.
Yeah, it is Little Moab, and it is. I mean, just rock wall after rock wall. I mean, it's meant for jeeps or rock crawling machines, and I got the bright idea with Baron there just backing me up. Let's go rock crawl the Rex. Why not? Let's go do this thing. Go ahead, Baron. Take it from there.
So Case decides he wants to take some videos of his car, and I am just driving along. We're going down these really horrible rocky paths. I mean, this place is like Little Moab. I mean, it's just solid rock, and you're going down these ledges to where I'm bottoming the car out like every time it goes down. While Case is getting a video and changing positions, and I fall down into this ledge. And I'm bottomed out, so I give it a little bit of fuel to try and get out of this hole or whatever I'm in. And Case is yelling at me, screaming, "Stop, stop, stop. My strut just fell out." And I'm like, "Your strut just fell out? No way." And I hop out of the car. Oh, go ahead, Case.
So literally my strut tower, if you know what a Subaru is, it's got 3 bolts to hold it in, and it's basically a rubber piece on top. The rubber piece ripped in half, and my entire wheel fell underneath my car as he went off this ledge. And I didn't realize what happened until I looked closer, and he started trying to drive forward with it. And I'm screaming at him, "Stop! Don't go! Stop moving! My strut's out!" And so we luckily Griff had worked at Subaru for so long, so he had a bunch of knowledge on how to get that thing up there, and we ended up ratchet strapping my strut to my engine bay somehow, and to hold it in place for us just to get back to the main road. And that was fun.
It was certainly eventful. So we kind of, it wasn't even in the main road. Did we get? Oh, I guess we took it all the way back into town, right?
Yeah, we stopped in Payson.
It wasn't Payson. It was actually Santaquin. Yeah. So we parked it at some restaurant in Santaquin, and everybody piled in the Isuzu because I got 7 seats, so why not? And we head on. Well, actually, so as we're heading back toward Santaquin, I think Jason and Case, maybe you were in my car. I don't remember who was all in my car.
I think we all were in your car at that point, trying to figure. Oh, it was Griff and Lonnon. Griff and Baron, I think, was in the wreck. And so me and Jason were online, calling O'Reilly's, calling AutoZone. Just trying to figure out if we can just find a strut we can just throw into this thing real quick. And then I did a little bit of research and found out that there was a pick-apart in Orem or Provo, all similar area.
It was Orem.
Orem. And we're like, man, we're half an hour away. Let's just go to a pick-apart. They do have a Forester there in the thing. So let's head over to pick-apart.
This is like 3:30. And so we head over to pick-apart. All of us are in the car, and we're heading there. We get in, and we find these. Well, I think there's like 3 of them in there, and one's completely rusted out. We're like, we can't get that one. So we move to the next one, and there's something happened. We could not get that strut off, right, Case?
Yeah, we went 3 different cars to finally find the correct strut. We ended up pulling an Outback one because we couldn't find the other one, and that was close enough from what you remembered. And getting the part. So we're out of there right before they closed down. Head back to Santaquin, and we ended up getting dinner there in Santaquin, and we're like, okay, do we want to try to do this in the parking lot? We can try to, find another rock to park my car on and just pull the strut and put it in there. And then someone decides, hey, let's just drive it back up to our campsite with a ratchet strapped strut tower up this windy road back up to Payson Canyon. I think it was an hour away. We're like, let's just drive it back. We use Baron's crane and we'll just lift it up.
So we end up getting it all the way back up the hill. Griff and I are the ones that drove it back. I think Griff drove it back, but we get all the way back up to where we were camping. And I've got a 6,000-pound crane on my truck. And I'm like, well, this car only weighs like 4,000 pounds. So we just wrap a couple of straps around his roof and decide we pick the whole car up. And so he's working on his car right about waist level. There's nothing. I'm going to be just like working on a lift. But he gets it all put back together. It's great. We put it back down, realized that I totally bent the crap out of his door seals.
Absolutely, and my windows still don't shut normal to this day.
Well, and you've also got to remember, this was also like 5:30 at night when we started. I think it was like 6:30 by the time it ended. So it was getting dark, and we're in the mountains, so the sun has gone down like way earlier than usual. So it was getting dark. By the time Case was done, it was dark.
Yeah, we were lucky that Baron had lights on his truck. But we finally get it done. We're like, okay, let's go, because we're supposed to head back to where we started at just to meet with the group and see how everyone's going. And Baron's like, okay, I'll just bring my service truck over there and see if anyone else needs help. And so that Mustang that Griffey loved, Baron ended up helping out.
So I ended up taking my service truck, and the guy, I can't remember exactly what it was. Do you guys remember what he was trying to fix? It was something
His
like a tie rod.
exhaust. No, his exhaust. His exhaust came off and ripped off, and they had to fix it.
So I ended up taking the crane again, and we ended up picking up the car on its side because I'd learned from past experiences not to use the roof again. And so we ended up getting the car on the side using, was it the tires? I think I wrapped a couple of straps between the tires.
Yep,
and we just
right
picked
through
it
the
up.
rims.
Yep. And we just like laid it up at, what would you guys say, a 60-degree angle, 45-degree angle probably?
At least a 45.
And the guy just crawled underneath it, got it worked. We had the lights out. I had all my tools. I mean, and it was a really cool experience.
The crazy thing was...
Did you have to weld it up?
No. Actually, you did have to weld it, didn't you, if I remember correctly?
I think I welded something on somebody else's car, but I don't think it was on that Mustang. It was like a bracket came off.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it
right.
was a hanger fell off or something.
So anyway, so like it's late. It's by the time we get up there, it's 7:30, 8 o'clock, and so we expected everybody to be back. And we get back there, and we're talking to the officials, and they're like, actually, like probably 60-something% of the people haven't even come back yet. And we're like, well, we wouldn't be back if we were still out there. So we get it. It was ridiculous.
That first day was the roughest terrain I've ever put a Subaru through, or anything lower like that through. And it was beating up our cars, and I don't know how. I mean, Lonnon's Ascender had it was scraping over rocks, and my car was scraping over rocks, and I don't have any torque in the Subaru. Also, I roasted my clutch that day, just trying to go easy over things. It was a rough terrain.
Yeah, it was really bad, like terrible. I mean, like there was points where, like I was just frame scraping everywhere I went. And I was like, if this is like what tomorrow's going to be like, I really don't want to go out and do this.
Yeah, I think we all decided that if it's going to be a lot like, if Saturday is a lot like Sunday, then we're done. We're not going to continue this at all.
Thank goodness it wasn't. Sunday was a freaking riot.
Awesome. So let's get into Sunday a little bit. So was it cold that night?
I think it was even colder that night. I think it was 5 degrees colder. It was freaking chilly in the morning.
And once again, that heater never got turned on.
And then, what time did Griff leave? He left did he leave Saturday night, or did he leave
Saturday night? No, I left Saturday night.
So he went over there with us when we went over and started working on people's cars that night, and then he left and went home.
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
Nope,
I thought you were there.
I didn't even see Case's car get fixed.
Oh, that's right. You had a primary program you had to be at, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So what time did you guys get done helping everybody out Saturday night before you got back to camp?
I'd say 8:30, 9 o'clock, somewhere in that range. And we went back and actually played Rummy for a little while, if I remember correctly, a couple of games. But then we just ended up crashing. But man, we were no better than
exhausted. I mean, we were exhausted. I mean, you wouldn't think driving would take it out of you so much, but it wasn't so much driving. We had to get out of the car. What do you guys guess? Probably 40 times to go look at a road or a trail, or go, do I want to take that path, or do I want to take that path? So
it was a lot of hiking.
It was really sunny, so it was a rough day.
So Sunday was colder that morning, and then what time did you guys get going on Sunday?
I think the whole event started about 8 o'clock. Everyone met up around 8 o'clock. We got our coordinates for our papers the next day, or that day, for the day, and then we headed out. And that trip was, we heading out of Payson Canyon, and we went to isn't it Miniature Bryce Canyon or something like that up there?
Yeah, I think that's what the name of it was. It was really pretty.
It was all paved road. There was no dirt that time period.
Yeah, it was just a nice little cruise. And at that time, my car was somewhat fixed. So it wasn't too bad to drive. And then we start cruising down this mountain, and then we start hitting what Jason would refer to it as rally, because it was open dirt road as far as the eye could see, and we just went.
So what was really cool is there was a section that, and I've got it on video. We'll have to get it up on either YouTube or Facebook or somewhere, Instagram maybe. But I have a video of Case, and I think it's Jason in there, and they're just booking. Like I went ahead. We talked to him about it first, so we decided we were going to do this. And so I went way up ahead, and I sat at this corner, and Case is, he's way down the road, and I see him, and so I start filming him. He's coming up the road, and he comes up and passes me. He's probably doing 30 around this corner, maybe 40, and just sliding that back end around and just drift in that corner. It looked great. It was awesome. I wish I would have done a slow-mo shot of it. It would have been pretty awesome if I'd have done so, but I think it turned out really good. So we did probably 7 or 8 of those where I would leapfrog ahead and stop and shoot, and then, somebody else would shoot, and then we finally switched off cars.
Yep, we just ended up switching drivers throughout this entire Sunday trip, and it was just a full day of rally driving. I mean, we were doing probably 80 miles an hour down these dirt roads in my Subaru. Obviously, Lonnon not going as fast, but it was one of the scariest things to do, was drive that thing after the strut was broken, because it would just pull in certain directions. And
when you were in boost, it pulled right. When you were out of boost, it pulled left. It was retarded.
It literally would pull you into a ditch if you did not have both your hands on the wheel. But man, it handled those roads so well. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do, is just going fast on dirt roads where, you can slide that back end around and just have fun. But so how many miles of that do you guys think you went on with the rally specials?
I would say it was almost 30, 40 miles. Maybe not that long.
I'd say it was at least 50. I mean, to be honest with you, it was a lot of mileage that we put on that sucker. I mean, you got to think about up to maybe the point where we left off just now before we went to that church. It was probably 30, but all day, I'd say it was a good 50 to 70. I mean, we didn't do a 500. It was definitely not a Gambler 500. We didn't do near 500 miles that full 2 days, but we did as much as we could, and we still, Case had to get home. He was only about an hour and a half away. We still had to get home, but we've got some. I think we decided we were going to try and take Sacrament because we were passing this church, but they were just letting out.
So, but we can't forget about the water crossings. I mean, Case, you should elaborate on that.
So we got down to the section after we got running through this really great piece of road, and it started getting rockier and rockier as we started going down, and up following this, I would say I'd call it a creek, maybe it was a river, but we get to the end, and it's literally blocked off by this log, and it's huge, and no one can get by it. And so everyone just piled up there trying to figure out what to do.
And there's probably 10 cars waiting here, none of which are cars. They're all SUVs.
Yeah, so that's where I'm like trying to figure out, okay, so what's going on? Like what? And then we get out, we walk around, and me, Baron, Lonnon, and Jason are all just sitting like, we could totally just drive through this river up and over and back over the other side with no issues. And so we start talking about it, and everyone's like, no way, you're never going to make it across, never ever going to happen. Dude, I make it over in about 15 seconds. I mean, no problem for the Subaru, none at all. It didn't wash it out. It didn't do anything. You just do the line right.
Well, and I think that's something that we as Jensens are good at, is driving and finding the right line and looking at things like that, where other people are going to see it as an obstacle, and it's going to stop them. We look for a way to get over it and around it. So how'd the Ascender do, Lonnon?
So actually, Baron was driving at this moment, and I decided to let him drive. He felt comfortable in it, and I wanted to make sure I could pick him a good line, because there were some things you could not see, in the river where there was rocks, that kind of stuff. And I knew the type of height that I had that I could deal with. And so we get him through there. I mean, he took it just as good. I made him come open over a rock that I wanted him to hit on, because he was in a better position afterwards. And after that, I mean, Baron, you can say how well you went through, but I think he did quite well.
In all honesty, it was very anticlimactic. I don't even remember it. I remember Case's Subaru going through it because he kind of did it for Dale, but Lonnon did pick a very good line for me, which made it.
Well, that's what's nice.
Not
that
that
we were all
exciting to
there
talk
just
about.
spotting each other.
Yeah, because there were some pretty big rocks in that river, but we all, I mean, I think after we all looked at it, we saw, there is a line here. You just have to know where to take it and when to hit it. And then, we get past that and we come to this. It just looks like this river in the middle of the road. And it's got to be, 100 yards, maybe 200 yards, guys?
Oh, yeah, at least that long of just muddy water. Like, just because it's been downpouring the week before was so bad up there. And this puddle is it was calling my name.
I anticipate some people getting dirty.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible. I mean, it may have been 2 or 3 foot football fields long, and it was ridiculous. So, Case, was I in your... Case, take it first, I think.
Okay, Case. How fast did you hit it?
I think Lonnon was with me, but I was driving. And first time I went through it, okay. Lonnon was behind me quite a ways. So I kind of turned around and coming back, have to go back to the mud puddle again, find out that Lonnon was, I don't know what happened, but he ended up he's helping guide the other people through. That's what it was. And then so he finally get going. And so I'm like, okay, I know how deep it is now. I'm going to hit this thing going probably 40 miles an hour. And I have basically nothing between my air intake and my air filter. Like, it literally was just a big giant hole right through my fender. We'll just say that my air filter actually blew a hole through the air filter because I put so much mud into my air intake.
I wasn't behind. I was behind, but I got out of the car because I wanted to film. And again, I think Barron was driving still, but I wanted to film Barron coming through that mud puddle. I was like, we got to go through, so we might as well get a shot of it. It's going to be cool. And he did it for Dale when he went through.
It was a lot of fun. There's nothing quite like doing puddle bashing, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty good. And then what I'd say, probably 3, 4, maybe 5, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 miles up the road. There was actually what's crazy. I mean, is how long we were on these roads, but getting up to the river as well as the that mud puddle. I mean, how many washouts on the road did we see, guys? I mean, it was probably, in my opinion, I think it was probably 7 or 8 that literally the road has washed out, and we could still make it through because we were tall enough.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts how washed out this entire thing was just because of the rain that week. So it was nuts trying to get back to the main road.
So you guys got through the washouts, and I'm sure the cars were just a disaster at this point. What'd you guys do?
We called it a day. After that, we figured out it was like almost 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're like, you know what? We need to go find a car wash. We got to get these things cleaned up because there's no way I'm putting this thing back in Barron's trailer.
Well, and it was
an
hour. It was just going back to camp was an hour, let alone those of us that had like a 2.5, 3 hour drive. So we were like, we want to get home at a decent hour, so we're going to call it quits early. And so we go to we find this car wash in Payson. It takes us all the way to Payson before we can find a car wash. And we got a couple pictures of it. Actually, I think we posted some of the ones on Instagram of them. And we're starting to pressure wash these cars off. And I think the owner was there because we were getting some pretty dirty looks.
Mean looks, man. We were like, because our cars were brown. Like, there was not a single spot on those cars that was the correct color. They were just brown from the mud.
To our credit, we didn't go through the automatic car wash. We actually, pressure washed the car off. So, I mean, was there a little more mud than he probably wanted? Yeah. But you know what? That's what it's for. So it worked out fine for us.
So you guys got everything washed up, headed back to camp, and got packed.
Yeah, I got all packed up, got the Subaru lined in again.
But his clutch was so terrible by this point. Like by the time we finally got it into Barron's trailer, all you could smell, I swear, for miles was roasted clutch.
100%. It was like just getting it up the incline into the trailer was nasty. It didn't smell like that for probably a good few months after we even took it out.
Well, it sat there for a few months though, didn't it?
That's always fun.
Yeah, I didn't even pull it out of my trailer. I think it sat there for 3 months.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
So guys, we're out of time for tonight. Is there anything anybody wants to add real quick?
Go do it. The Gambler 500 is so worth it. I wish I would have known about it this year. I wasn't keeping up on it. They just did it last week, so they do one in spring and then one in the fall. So I am down for the next one. What do you guys think?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm in. We probably want to do the one in April.
I'm in.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, that's the next
I was
one.
broken last time.
Oh, that was right after your accident.
I broke myself. I couldn't get the last one. Yep. Right after my dirt bike accident. So I couldn't go. But all right. Anybody else got anything?
Let's get your cruiser going, Lonnon. I want to try the Mercedes
The
again.
Mercedes might be a fun one, especially if you took the fenders off. If you took the fenders off, that thing would be cool because you could put some big fat monster tires on that thing.
So I was thinking, find some UTV tires. We have enough UTVs now. It'd be easy to get some for it.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be easy to fit those on there. And guys, if you're wanting to join us, email us at kinguglycrew@gmail.com. And if you guys have any recommendations for a topic, just shoot us an email. If you guys like this podcast, go ahead and just subscribe and like us on or review us on whatever you can. And we want to keep going with this thing. So if you have recommendations for us to do, freaking send them our way.
If there's a gambler near you anytime soon, let us know. We might decide to go on that one as well.
Yep. Awesome, Will. Baron, Case, Griff, Lonnon, good to hear from you guys. Talking about the Gambler 500, I'm excited to join you on your next one. Appreciate everybody for listening and hearing about what we like to do for fun. Like Case said, let us know some topics of conversation you'd like to know about the Ugly Crew. And with that, we're going to call it a night, everybody.
And stay ugly.